There's one thing nobody will tell you about underwater filming, and that is how often things go wrong. The winds shift, it rains, excessive runoff flows in. The causes may be different, but the results are the same. The water gets dirty. Throughout the entire season, I explored a place that's always clear where these rules do not apply. And that is, of course, the marsh. Yup, this wasn't a mistake. St. John's Marsh is a real treasure in the Great Lakes. Virtually none of the lake's marshes still exist, and that's a real shame. The underwater world of the marsh was for me the most strange to explore. None of the lessons learned in rivers applied here. There are many new challenges and hazards to contend with here. The most striking thing was the change that happened throughout the season. The plant growth really changes the dynamic here from spring, summer, and fall. Change is a way of life in the marsh, and therefore it's very hard to keep up with what's going on in here. Areas you explored just a few weeks ago can become completely and totally unrecognizable simply due to how much the plants have grown. These aquatic plants are the secret to why the marsh is so special. The marsh acts as nature's water treatment facility. The dense vegetation slows down the water, allowing the plants to clear out pollutants and sediments from the water, leaving the water much cleaner than when it came in. But I'm sure you're telling yourself you've seen dirty brown water in swamps. What that actually is staining from decaying plants. That water is still much cleaner than when it came in. The marsh is home to many species of fish and reptiles. Some are common, while others are endangered species. The question I want to ask in this video is if the marsh is worth exploring. So let's dive in and have a look to find out. When you first enter the marsh, it always appears empty. The fish and wildlife are generally hesitant to come out until they get a good idea as to what you are and your intentions might be. After staying still for a few moments, you should start to see some of the fish come out. And lucky for me, the first fish we find is one I've wanted to do a redo for a while, the beautiful golden shiner. The golden shiner is one of the largest species of shiner living in North America and is definitely the most adapted for life in the swamps. You'll find golden shiners from juveniles all the way up to full-size adults living in here. As a generalist fish living off plankton, plants, and small insects, the golden shiner fits perfectly into this environment. And because baitfish do so well in the marsh, that obviously allows predators to live here as well. But unlike in large lakes or rivers, the big-name predators can't survive here simply because the vegetation is too dense. So predators that live here have to adapt. It felt really nice to film these guys without any sort of strange interruptions. There are 3 types of predators that you will often see in the marsh, each with their own unique strategy to deal with this environment. Hiding in the darkness of the reed beds and looking into open water is the marsh's largest predator, the largemouth bass. Largemouth bass always seem to thrive in areas where they're easily the largest fish, typically in small bodies of water, and the marsh is no different. With no other large predators capable of challenging them, the largemouth bass confidently patrols open waters, eating anything it can get its hands on. With so many fish spending their juvenile phase here in the marsh, it's very easy for largemouth bass to thrive. There are hundreds of them that inhabit this small stretch of the waterway. Next up, we have a predator that relies on both camouflage and teamwork to successfully overpower its prey. And that is, of course, a favorite of many fishermen, the yellow perch. From a distance, you'll often see large perch in groups patrolling amongst the weeds, but generally, only one at a time will come up and have a look at you. It seems that the perch have scouts that go and look ahead for food and take the fall from predators. The vertical bars on its side make perfect camouflage, and the quick speed of the perch allows it to get away from most dangers. If you can prove that you are not a threat, the perch will come in for a nice, close look. And if the scout successfully finds food, the other perch will rush in like a feeding frenzy. This pack hunting strategy used by the perch allows the group to find the most amount of food while avoiding the most amount of danger. The biggest danger being our last predator, who happens to be here, somewhere in this shot, lying in the grass. If you thought the perch had good camouflage, this guy takes it to a whole new level. And I thought the muskie and pike were the best at hiding. It turns out their little cousin, the grass pickerel, is the undisputed master of concealment. The name really tells the whole story. Their camouflage is designed to perfectly mimic the grasslands they prefer to hide in. Couple that in with their excellent eyesight, lightning fast speed, and incredibly small size, and this guy is one real pain to find and film. While the entire pike family hates getting their pictures taken, the big guys like northern pike and muskie just can't get away from me because I notice them. The grass pickerel can. In fact, it took over a dozen visits to the marsh to film them just once. The worst part about these guys is you think that you have seen one, but the moment you raise your camera to take a picture, he's already gone. Let's try filming something a little bit easier to finish our time up in the marsh. The last fish I would like to cover today is the family that does the best in the marsh, the panfish. First up, the one we see early in the springtime, is the pumpkin seed. Being a relatively small and narrow fish allows pumpkin seeds to travel easily inside the marsh. Their dietary needs of small fish fry and small insects perfectly lends them to life in the marsh too. Pumpkin seeds are highly social, and this safety in numbers really makes them safe from any predator living in the marsh once they become fully grown. I will freely admit, my skills at identifying panfish are not the best. They can be quite difficult to me as there are many species, they all look very similar, and to make matters worse, they frequently hybridize with one another. The pumpkin seeds seem to disappear as the summer goes on and are gradually replaced by the bluegill. Bluegills are also a seasonal resident of the marsh. As the waters get warmer, the pumpkin seed leave and the bluegill begin to take their place more and more. Both species of panfish are generally shy and won't let you take their picture. In order for them to get comfortable with you, you have to stay perfectly still and let them come to you. Okay, I think I've teased them enough. Let's talk turtles. The marsh is a turtle's paradise. Go early in the morning and you will encounter dozens of turtles in a single trip. It's quite possible to get as many as 5 species in a single trip. Look up high, look low, look in the weeds, there are turtles everywhere. Most are common, like this musk turtle, but every once in a while you get lucky. I noticed all of this mud and moving bottom, which indicates a turtle below, but as soon as I saw the yellow spots, I knew I hit the jackpot. Let's follow this guy and wait for him to stop so we can get a better look at him. And as soon as he stopped, I knew right away what we have. A Blandings turtle, an endangered species here in the Great Lakes. The Blandings turtle is quite an odd fellow. He has a shell that indicates he's more closely related to land-based turtles like the box turtle, yet he spends most of his time in the water. He also has a very long neck that's brightly colored. But probably the most incredible thing about the Blandings is they don't appear to age. They can reach their upper 80s and sometimes 90s with the same vigor and strength as a juvenile turtle. My opinion on marshlands has drastically changed since I started exploring them. They weren't anything like what I believed them to be. I always assumed that marshlands were dirty and muddy and not worth exploring, but they are anything but that. Marshlands are a beautiful and unique habitat that people, quite frankly, should try to protect more of. This is nature's water purification. This is baby fish's nursery. This is the permanent home of turtles. And yet, we destroy this habitat more than any other. But now that we've explored it, now you know. The marsh is truly a gem in the Great Lakes we must protect. There was one fish I was especially looking for in the marsh, but just frankly couldn't line up. And that is, of course, the eyetail bowfin. They are here, they do exist in the marsh, but they won't come out to get their picture taken. The moment a bowfin sees me, it dives into the weeds. That simply won't do. Let's do better. Okay, that felt great, but I didn't film this in the marsh. I filmed it in the Huron River, but we just filmed a whole episode in the Clinton River. We didn't miss anything, did we? Well, it seems we did, and we have to go back into the rivers to see what else we can find. On the next episode of Into Swamps, Streams, and Shallows. I hope you guys liked the video, and if you did, please like, leave a comment, and subscribe. Stay safe, dive often, and we will see you on the next one.